You really have modifieds surrounding you. Why the f are you racing taxi cabs?
It's probably more of a family thing to race taxi cabs. I wouldn't call them a taxi cab. I don't think that's a proper term. I think they're really cool race cars. I think my dad just started out as a late model guy back in the 90s. He owned a street stock, then he owned a late model. So I don't know, I guess it's just been a family thing. I just always growing up, I felt like when I started racing street stocks, it was like the goal was to race super late models, I guess, you know. And you know, once it actually became like a reality, it was like it's pretty cool, you know. And then it's like you always want to take it a step farther. You know, obviously modifieds are kind of the thing around here, but I always felt like for me, super late models is the top level of what I wanted to do. Not to say that I would never try a modified again, but late models are kind of my thing. I work for Casagrande Builders. I mean, we do a lot of construction work. I mean, we pretty much do anything you want. From running a Bobcat to a backhoe to putting bathrooms in somewhere or building a house, building a garage. I mean, you never really know what we're gonna do when we start the day, which is kind of what I like about it. We just something different every day, and it's fun. It's me and two other guys, including my dad, and wintertime is brutal. It is a lot of snow removal. Even though this winter, I mean, knock on wood, hasn't seemed that bad, but it has been. Like, it seems like every storm is the worst storm ever, even if it's an inch, because I hate the snow. So, but we got a big apartment complex and condos that we do, and that's kind of like my thing in the winter time. It takes up a lot of time there, but you know, it is what it is. That's my thing. I mean, obviously, living in Stafford is like, was awesome growing up because I live 8 minutes from a racetrack, and I love racing. My family loves racing. Teddy was the best driver that I got to grow up watching. I thought he was, I mean, he was the man, really. That's the only way to explain him. He's just the man. And I mean, I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, like, people hated him, but watching him and seeing people hate him made me like him, I guess. And he kind of like was the villain in a lot of cases, not always, but, and that was something to root after. He won so many races. I mean, he won in every kind of race car that he raced in. He ran in so many divisions, pro stocks, Busch North, modified tour, SKs. I remember watching him, like, he only ran a handful of super modified races, and he won in those, you know. And Neiman Midgets, it's like the dude can get in any car and wheel it, and how can you not be a fan of that? And I mean, if you're from around here, even if you're not a race fan per se, you still know who Teddy is. So, I mean, his legacy is going to be a thing that everyone knows. So I did try modified after I stepped away from late model racing at Stafford. I stepped in an SK Light for a few races. My first race, we were really quick. I think we had pretty good speed, but sometimes things don't work out, and I hooked wheels. I mean, they're big open wheels. I mean, sometimes bad things happen. Clip wheels, flipped over, went flying down the front stretch on my roof. Just a little skid, not too long. But I mean, obviously didn't go the way I planned, but it was a good experience for the 5 races I did it. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I got to experience what a modified was, SK Light anyway. And obviously, I think someday I'd like to have another shot at it. Maybe not right now. Maybe if I had the opportunity, I probably would. I probably couldn't say no if I had the opportunity. But definitely not the way I expected it. I mean, flipping, that was the only time I ever flipped a race car. And when you're sitting upside down and you're watching fuel dump out of the carburetor, it's kind of a pretty scary moment. Like, the crash itself didn't hurt at all, but it's like, oh, well, there's fuel dripping out, and I don't think I can get out of this thing while I'm sitting on the roof, because I'm not like an agile person that I could just sneak out of a modified. But it was fun while it lasted. It was fun while it lasted. So last year, at the beginning of 2017, we were in the talks. We really wanted to buy a newer car, something that had some technical help with it. My cousin Charles lives in North Carolina, so childhood performance here, no big deal. We went down to North Carolina. We met Stephen Wallace. I knew he had a car for sale. I sent Charles over there to look at it. Obviously Stephen keeps his stuff in pristine condition. So we just made the call on the spot. We're like, we're gonna go buy that thing, and it's 007 LFR Fury chassis. So I knew it was a good car. I happened to work with those guys pretty close at the time, so I talked to them about it. Knew I was getting a good piece, and I knew that I can count on them for good support, and it's helped out over the last year, and I hope it's going to work out hopefully for a long time here. I plan on running their stuff for a while here, and it's been a good car. I've had my crew chief talks with Jeff Foltz and those guys. They're really good to work with setup wise and all that. And I'm happy with the decision to go to Fury. I think it will be a good relationship down the road. And it's good to know people throughout the sport, not just in the Northeast, but through North Carolina and down in that region. It was. We went up there one day after work. We just shot up to I don't know where it was, Scarborough, somewhere in that area. I really don't know Maine at all. That was the first time I've ever been to Maine. It's a pretty big state, I think. And we went there, and I really didn't know what I was looking at, honestly. It looked like a good piece, and Billy was a good guy to talk to. He talked me through pretty much everything on the car, and gave him some money, and we walked out of there with a car and with a motor and everything. And so we left there, and I ran that car for 3 years. 3 years. And we're still going today with it. It's blue now. You probably wouldn't recognize it, but we did some updates to it this year for the first time, and I'm excited to see what it's got. I mean, I know my 2 best finishes so far in pro stocks have been in that car, so it's obviously got some speed, and I think Jeff and my brother will hopefully do all right with it this year. I don't want them beating me, but it'll be a good year. So Loudon was, I mean, looking back at it now, I loved it. I'm excited that I get to go back next year. I think we had a really good car during the race, during practice. I mean, pretty much during the whole weekend, we went there. We didn't go to the test, and we unloaded, and we were fast right away. And I was really happy about that. I was a little skeptical at first, but after getting there, I was happy with what we had. The race itself, I think we were in the top 5. We were running 5th, I think, and we were catching up to Eddie Thatcher, and I think he was blowing up, and I got behind him, and I started losing power myself, and I was like, man, what's going on? You know, I kept keying over there. I'm like, think we're blowing up, and the deck lid fell down. And I think it was just killing us so bad aero-wise, and I think it did the same thing to Eddie Mack. He was falling back too, and I thought we were blowing up, we fell back way back, and then I kind of felt an issue going on in the right front, and a lap later, we blew a tire and hit the wall, bent the clip, you know, so the day was a good day. It got ruined by a couple bad things. But there was a lot of good takeaways from it, besides the finish, really, and all the money we spent. But that's racing. I mean, what are you going to do about it? So, I mean, obviously we were going to run the Grand Estate, you know, for most of the season. And they came out with a rule for a side exit. We always just dumped it out right in front of the rear end. I shot flames everywhere, all over the car. You know, I always had burn marks everywhere in there. But they said they were going to allow side exit exhaust. I'm like, that's perfect. I called my dad right away. And, you know, that night I was like drawing on a piece of paper how to route it out the door, whatever. So the next day we started building it, really. I mean, it was kind of a month project building it, but I'm happy with the way they came out. I think that was a rule that is just, you know, it just makes sense to do. I mean, you don't have to worry about it blowing on the, you know, directly on the right rear tire because I mean, it's really tough to get it out the rear like some of those other guys do. And every late model in the country is run out the door. So, I mean, I think it just, you know, like everything, the Northeast kind of stepped behind. So we're finally getting back to, you know, what they got. So
and it's cool.
And it's just cool. And it's loud, and it shoots flame out the side, so people can see a cool flame out the side. I mean, who doesn't want to see a cool flame? No one. I mean, everyone. Duh. So, I mean, pretty much Thompson could be like, you know, I mean, sometimes you don't need to wreck the car to have a bad day. And we had a day from hell. It was a day from hell, and when we got in the heat race, I shifted the car in the heat race, and, you know, went into gear fine. You know, I didn't think anything of it. Pulled off the track afterwards, coming off turn 2, going behind the gate. I downshifted the second gear, and it just made a nasty sound. And I was like, keyed on the radio. I mean, John probably has a footage somewhere of me freaking out. I mean, I don't know if I was freaking out, but I was probably pretty upset. I probably sounded like a little girl screaming because I was a little upset. And
I got a tranny problem. This f***ing day will not f***ing end.
the tranny was drunk. I mean, I screwed up something or something happened and the tranny was drunk. So we came in the pits, changed the tranny. I mean, we had, we had the whole thing ripped apart. I was talking to Louis Mechalades a little bit, like hoping that I hope I didn't screw something up else in here. And he's like, I think you're all right. So I don't think it was anything to do with that. So it fired up fine after we changed the tranny. I was really worried about something else breaking. But everything seemed fine. We drove around the pits. It was great. We went out in the race, and right away I thought we were really good. I thought we were really fast, and we started towards the back. We were making our way through the field. We ran into some trouble. We got the nose cut off a little bit, but it didn't really hurt us at all. I think after we got settled in, it was a long race. We got settled in. We were okay. We made it up to 6th, and on a restart, I shifted into 3rd gear, and I thought I blew another motor. I thought I blew another tranny. So I shifted it back to 2nd gear, and it made even a worse noise, and it was making really bad noises, and so I shut it off, and we pulled down pit road, and I'm like, guys, I screwed up, we wrecked another tranny, let's just put it in 3rd gear, see if we can push off. So we pushed off on the pit road, and I let go of the clutch, and the car stopped dead. And kid went about flying through the rear tailgate of the car because the car just stopped dead and they were all pushing it as hard as I could. It's funny now, but it was funny then. Pulled it back in the pits, and they opened up the hood, and there was a puddle of oil on the ground because there was a big hole in the oil pan. So it was a bad day. It's a day that I want to forget for sure. It's my favorite track, so it kind of makes it even worse, I guess. But it's just a bad day at the track. Everyone's gonna have those. I'm sure I'll have them again, and someone else is gonna have it worse too. So it is what it is.